Hello friends and fam, Chloe here. This is a trip down memory lane, part 2. I'm sorry it has taken so long for me to get this to you. I've been having issues with my computer. I finally got an external drive on my computer, so I was able to move my editing software into the external drive so it wasn't taking up so much room on my computer. So now I can keep trying not to do that. Now what I can do is I can take videos that I have put in different parts, edit them all together, and upload them into YouTube. I really hope this works because now my editing software is on my external hard drive, so hopefully it'll work from my external hard drive, and then I can hopefully upload it into YouTube. So this is part 2 of my trip down memory lane. This is most of the many homes and apartments that I've lived in. It takes you from Minnesota down to Illinois and back to, well, no, I don't think I did any videos of the apartments that I've lived in. I'm still debating whether I want to do that. I probably won't. But this is my trip down memory lane up until 2008. So from the time I was born up until 2008. Some of the places that I lived in between are not included in this because I did live in another home in Elgin that I, first of all, couldn't remember how to get to, and second of all, I didn't want to risk running into my insane ex-boyfriend that I lived with for 3 months. So I did not film that house. I did not film an apartment that I lived in between the time that I moved to Elgin the first time and the time I moved to Elgin the second time, when I lived up in Waite Park, which is a suburb of St. Cloud, Minnesota. I did not go up there and film that, but for the most part, this is all, most of the homes or the places that I lived in. It does show one apartment complex as well. The video for that isn't that great because I was filming it through the windshield of my car, and the windshield was kind of dirty, so you may not be able to see it very well. I just didn't want to draw a lot of attention to myself. But these are the homes that I've lived in from birth up until about 2008, most of them. And I'm really sorry that it's taken me this long to get this video up. So I hope you enjoyed this video, another trip down memory lane. I may do a third one because when I was down in Illinois, I did film some of the places that I worked, and when I was filming some of these places last summer, so this is kind of an older video. Some of it is a little bit older. And the last home, or one of the homes that I lived in Champlin, Minnesota, was cut really short because the battery died and we never went back up to film it. But I didn't, again, want to draw attention to myself because while we were filming it, the owners of the house were outside kind of eyeballing at us and that. So you kind of get a little bit of a sense of what that house looked like. So hope you enjoy this video, and I will let's just roll the film. Yeah, you can pull. Yeah, you can pull it. Just keep pulling up, pulling up, pulling up, pulling up. Go in between. Okay. My house was the blue one.
Okay. Well.
Okay, so we're gonna park right in front of the.
I feel like I'm gonna hit this mailbox, you know.
Okay, just pull here and then just put your butt. Okay, so stop number 1. Sorry about that. Stop number 1 on our trip down memory lane is this house right here. I grew up in this house. It did not have that fence right there. Did not have that fence. But this is the house that my parents actually built back in 1965, I believe.
Wait, your parents built this house?
Mm-hmm. And this is the house that I grew up in. And right next door, in 1972, my grandparents built this house. And so my grandparents lived here, and my grandmother actually well, both my grandparents passed away, not in the house, but while they lived in the house. And then my parents sold it. And then my parents sold their house back, like, I don't even remember how old it was, like at least 20 years ago. So that was the house I lived in. And then, let's see if I can zoom in here. There's a backstory to that window right there.
Don't worry.
Okay. There's a backstory to this room right there, which I'm not going to get into. That's the front door.
And that's my mom's finger.
That's the living room right there. And, of course, 2-car garage. Our yard was a half an acre. My grandparents' yard was a half an acre. Is a half an acre. So between the two lots, it was a whole acre between the two lots. So this is stop number 1. And then we used to have, out front here, if you can see, along this line here, my mom had planted some lilac bushes, but these people that bought the house tore them out, which is really sad. So this was my house growing up. That's where I spent most of my life, in this house right here. So this house up here is a very special house. For those of you that know the music of Michael Johnson, who sang Bluer Than Blue, this is the house he used to live in. And I used to babysit his son here. And in the basement of this house, when I was babysitting one time and after I put his son to bed, I decided to explore the house a little bit. I went down in his basement, and in one room he had a big pool table, and in the other room he had recording equipment along the whole wall. It was amazing. I don't know if he recorded down there, mixed down there, whatever. I don't remember a studio per se that he would actually record in his house. But if you go ahead and pull up and around, you have to have that on. So I knew that he lived here. And back in high school, one of my sisters was a queen candidate for a local festival here. And one of the things that they had to do was to sell buttons for the festival. And she hated doing that, so I would always go...
Please say a command after the beep.
So, sorry about that. So one of the things that she had to do was sell buttons, and she hated doing that, so I would do it. And it took me 5 or 6 trips to come down here to his house. Here's the back of his house here. And at one point in the backyard, he was actually writing one of his songs. And in that door back there, that's where I first met him, right at that door. I was amazed that, like, I knocked on his door, and it was in the middle of summer, and I heard him call from inside the house. He goes, "Come on in." I'm like, oh my gosh, I listened to this guy on my radio, on my stereo, and this guy is inviting me into his house. This is amazing. So that was Michael Johnson's house. Okay, guys, so along the journey...
They have a dog.
Of...
And the garage is open.
Yeah. Along the journey of my trip down memory lane, this is one of... Oh, is there somebody there?
Yeah, there's somebody there.
That's all right. If she comes up, I'll say, I used to live here. This is one of the homes that I lived in. This is where the kids first... Not Allison, but this is where the kids first spent their life.
The dog's looking at you.
Where's the dog? Oh, there's the dog. Can't see him. But this is one of the houses I lived in. This is north of Minneapolis in a town called Champlin. And I don't know if you can see between the homes back here, but that yellow shed back there, I think your dad actually put that shed in. Either that or it was there when we moved in. But I know the playground that might still be in the backyard, that was the one that your dad made. Yeah. So it looks a lot different than when we grew up in it. It was a yellow house to start.
That would have bought it from you guys, right?
I don't think so, no. I think it's changed hands a couple times.
On the internet, it was the same people.
I think it changed hands a couple times. So this is stop number 1 for the places I've lived in Elgin when I first moved down to Illinois. This used to be Joan's home, and it was always very dark If you can see the color of the roof, that's about the color that the whole house was. Actually, that gate area in the porch, that's about the color that the house was. And the door of the garage, that's what color the house used to be.
That door used to have 3 white diamonds on it.
Yeah, it probably still does. So I lived here for 7 years. They were not the best years of my life. Some of them were good times, but a lot of them were not so good. So I lived here with Joan and Ron. And then later on, the kids came down to live with us. And that became, that's all right. That became very chaotic and full of turmoil. So this is house number 1 that I lived at, but we're not going to film here long because I don't want the neighbors to call the cops on me for filming a house at random. And the neighbors, and if the people in this house are sitting in the living room, which is that big picture window there, they might be able to see me looking at their house and wondering why I'm filming their house. So this is house number 1. This is residence number 1, where I lived in Elgin.
Okay, so this was our nutty thing that we used to do as kids for no particular reason at all.
How to drive the car.
We decided.
Here that you did it?
No, it was up by the slide.
At the top? Okay.
Yeah. We were completely crazy,
I don't know what I'm doing here.
and we just decided that it was gonna be fun.
Around this way.
What? Why? I don't want to get sand everywhere. So, this is what we did.
I'm taller than anyone.
Yes, she is insane.
The kids used to come here and play a lot. It's not very far from the house I just showed you. The kids would come here and play. They used to go to school across the street over here at Century Oaks Elementary School. I think you guys would walk, didn't you?
Yeah, me and Chris would walk to school.
You didn't take the bus?
We were too close to take the bus. You had to be at least a mile away.
Down the slide?
Oh, Lord. Let's try this.
I haven't gone on a slide in years.
Okay, go ahead, Mom.
Okay, ready? I'm taller than anyone. Ha 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 ha.
Come on down. And here she goes. Crazy slide lady.
I don't know if I can do this. Oh my god.
Do it.
Okay. Ah! Oh, ow, ow, ow.
And that's how she broke her coccyx.
I haven't gone down a slide in years. No, I'm all full of sand from.
Alright, we'll end the video right there with that high note.
Okay, I'm not sure how well you can see this because we're still inside the car and the front windshield is really dirty and very reflective, but this is the second place that I lived after I got kicked out of Joan's house, and we lived in this apartment up here. This is where we first got the hamsters. We used to have hamsters.
7 of them.
And for some weird reason, I thought if I stood on the ground floor and the kids dropped one of the hamsters from the balcony, I could catch her, but I miscalculated where she was falling and she fell to the ground and practically died, but we brought her back to life. That was autumn. So this is the second place I lived for like a year and a half. And then we noticed that 2 rival gangs were moving into the area. The management wanted to deny that, but the kids knew.
That's because one of the management was OG.
What's OG?
Original gangster.
Oh.
He was part of
So
the
what
Latin
were the
Kings.
names of the gangs that...
The Latin Kings and the Gangster Disciples. Just called them GD and LK. They're actually pretty heavy presence out in like Chicago and Los Angeles.
Yeah. So they started moving out this way. There's several buildings. This is just one of them. This is also where I met a couple of truckers when they were moving in. We were
Vince and Terry.
living here. Vince and Terry, yep. They lived on the back side of this building next door to me. There's only 4 units in here, 1 on the bottom, like 2 over here, 2 over there, and then 2 behind. And as they were moving in, Vince miscalculated where the door for the steps were. I was on my computer in the living room, and all of a sudden the door opened up, and we were all inside the apartment, and I poked my head around the corner, and Vince started coming into my apartment thinking it was the stairs. And Terry came behind him. He goes, "You stupid idiot, what do you think you're doing?" And that's how I met Vince and Terry. Was right here at these apartments. I think Vince and Terry actually almost set their balcony on fire when they went to barbecue on their balcony.
I forgot about that.
they burned a little hole in the balcony because it's made out of wood, you can see. And maybe you can see. I don't know if you can see. It's the balcony right there. It's made out of wood. It's hard to see through the dirty windshield. It's all on the inside here. Maybe if we do like that.
That's not gonna help.
Yeah, it helped a little bit. Okay, so yeah, we gotta wash your windshield on the inside. Do you have any of those wipes or whatever?
I did at one point. I have no idea where they are now.
So, and this is where, see, Terry and Vince were over-the-road truck drivers, and they were both gone one time, and we heard an alarm going off very loudly in their apartment. So we called 911 thinking there was a fire, and they weren't turning off the alarm. And it turned out it was Vince's alarm clock that was called a screamer, and it sounded like a fire alarm.
Oh my god!
And Vince forgot to turn it off.
Yeah, I forgot about that too.
And it wasn't like in the middle of the night or anything. It was like in the middle of the day.
I remember when we were living here, we used to play in the garages.
You used to play in the carports?
Yeah, we used to play down.
Yeah,
because
you can. I don't know if you can see out the back window,
but there's like underground garages around here somewhere.
Underground
used to be.
Really? I don't remember that.
Used to be. I was gonna.
I'm not looking in the camera, so I hope you can see that there's like carports back here.
I was gonna hide out in one when you guys decided that we were moving to Rockford because I wanted to keep an eye on my friends around here. I was gonna hide out and just live there.
Oh.
It disappeared for like a day and you didn't even notice.
This is where Christian had some of his major problems with his ADHD too.
This is where my friend Jack got beat up.
Because didn't he hit a girl? Didn't he hit a little girl with a stick?
Yeah.
In the back, and that's when I was getting concerned.
You remember that little gangbanger Ricky Soriano?
No.
Oh my God. We were getting off the bus one day. Me and Allie were getting off the bus from Larkin High, and Ricky lived in this place, and our friend Jack lived here too. Well, my friend Jack. Allie didn't really know him, but we got off the bus, and Ricky started beating the heck out of Jack, and we were standing there like we didn't want to like get hit too, so we stood back a little ways and we started yelling at him to go away. Eventually he stopped and just ran off, and then we took Jack home and called the cops.
This is the first time I'm hearing that story.
We were like 2 hours late coming home from school that day. You don't remember that?
No.
Because we told you that day what happened.
Do I remember what happened to me last week?
That's a good question.
So this is stop number 2 in Illinois of where I lived. Now, I think what I did before is on the next shot that you'll see, I did say that this was stop number 2, and that was my house up in Rockford, Illinois. And I totally forgot about this place. So this is technically stop number 2. So the next clip that you see will be from Rockford, Illinois. That's actually the 3rd place I lived here in Illinois. So I've only lived 3 places here in Illinois. Well, 4 technically, but I'm not showing Psycho Dude's house. Well, that was the first time I came down. I could probably remember how to get there. I just don't want to run into him because I'm sure he probably still lives there. So, on to back to Minnesota. Okay, folks. Here's stop number 2 here while we're in Illinois. This house here, I lived in for 3 years. This is in Rockford. And I know somebody lives here right now. I would have parked closer in the front of the house, but I don't want to draw attention to myself, even though the lady across the street is mowing the lawn. So this was one of the houses that I lived in for this house I lived in for 3 years. Not a lot of great memories here. But this is the house that I lived in before I moved back to Minnesota. Now, I'm going to try and point out, that's the kitchen, and then that's where that window there is where the sink is, and that window over here by the rose bushes, that's the living room. The bedrooms are all on the back side of the house. There was an elderly gentleman that lived next door to me in this house. He's probably passed away since then, I don't know. But as I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time at each of my homes because I don't want to draw attention to myself. I don't want the cops called on me. I don't want the neighbors coming out and yelling at me or the people that own the house. So this is stop number 2. Brings back a lot of memories.
The best memory I have here was when we got Rainbow.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Me and my brother
This is
came
where-
home from school one day. You know, we had just walked through the door and you guys had just gotten home from the pet shop. We didn't even know you were going.
Yeah, Allison came with me.
We hadn't even set our backpacks down. We were walking through the kitchen to get to our bedrooms, and I think it was you came in from the garage.
Yep, and Allison was carrying Rainbow.
You came in from the garage. You're like, all right, turn around and close your eyes. I'm like, can I set my backpack down? It's kind of heavy. Nope, just close your eyes and turn around. Okay, fine. I look over at my brother briefly, and I'm like, do you have any idea what's going on? No. Okay. Allison comes in from the garage. I can hear her. The dog was so quiet, I didn't even hear her. And Mom's like,
stepped
okay,
out of the
open
way.
your eyes and turn back around. And my eyes immediately right to the dog. Can I hold her?
So yeah, we had gotten Rainbow one year, and then the following year we got Lucky and brought him back here, and you can see it's starting to rain now. So that's the house I left to go back to Minnesota. Like I said, not a lot of fabulous memories here. This is where the marriage kind of fell to crap. But backyard is pretty good size, and if there was nobody living here, I could probably go around that side of the house. There's a fence back there, but I could probably lift the camera up over there. But I'm not going to do that. We're just going to stay in the car.
Plus, it's kind of rainy right now.
Yeah, it's starting to sprinkle a little bit. It's going to be another hot one today. So, stop number 2. This is the town where Melanie graduated from. We had her graduation party here. That was not the best day either. We won't go into that though. So stop number 2. And those rose bushes I actually planted in the front there. See if I can zoom in here. Forgot how to do that. Oh, right here. And that Mary statue there, that one was mine. But I left it here. So those are rose bushes. No, I don't think those are rose bushes. I think those
They
are just...
were when we were living here.
Were they? Okay, maybe they are. So that's the living room. So stop number 2, folks. And then the next stop is going to be back in Minnesota. Okay, so I hope you really enjoyed watching or seeing some of the places that I grew up in from birth until 2008. This is my outro. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you are safe. Hope you are healthy, because this is, we're in the midst of the coronavirus. Things up here in Minnesota, I will just mention this really quickly. Things up here in Minnesota have calmed down quite a bit. As far as the riots and the protestings and stuff like that, that things are settling down up here. I don't know if the riots and the protesting is still going on in your part of the country or the world. I did hear that London, Ireland, and South Africa are also protesting this death. But I hope these days are finding you healthy, happy, safe, and thanks for coming with me on this trip down memory lane. We'll see you on the next one, and you have a sunny day.